What's up, everybody? We have Harvey Singh here, who is fighting on December 13th for Fusion Fight League. Before we get into the fight and the details and the nitty-gritty of that, I know Harvey is a very interesting guy. You have a long-standing relationship with Fusion Fight League. Let's start there. Tell us, how did you first get involved with Fusion?
I started a roofing company in Billings, and things went, really well, really quickly, and we grew very fast. So, I think immediately, you know, um, we were just very grateful. You know what I mean? It was a crazy time in my life. Single dad, and just started my own business, and so I wanted to give back. So I just started kind of like I remember it started when somebody, one of my customers said, "Hey, my kid's on a baseball team. Would you mind sponsoring?" And did that, and it was great, and it was funny because a couple other people from the team called, and I was like, "Well, that's kind of cool." So we just started giving back in that way. We started giving back, and it just kind of grew into bigger organizations, doing things with the chamber and downtown and all kinds of stuff with Billings, but then also just sponsoring. We got into sponsoring fighters and just all kinds of athletes and things. And that's kind of how I first got into connection with Fusion, started, like sponsoring some of the fights and yeah, so it's kind of just evolved from there.
Let's back up a little bit. So obviously you're in a good position business wise and all that stuff to be able to sponsor. So how did you get there? Because I know you seem like a very business savvy guy. You've built built a really successful business in Montana. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, there was a shift somewhere in my life right around, I want to say when I was about 26, 27 years old. I saw that documentary, The Secret, and I know a lot of people have seen it. People have read a lot of books about, positive thinking and manifesting and all this other stuff. But I was kind of at a dark place in my life when I saw it. So it really hit me and I ran with it. My first goal, since I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, was to make $100,000 that year. And one thing led to another. I ended up in Montana with a working with a roofing company, selling roofs when it would hail and things like that. So I think that was kind of where my mindset, I started thinking more. You know what I mean? I started getting more involved in how I think, and rather than just aiming, just kind of aimlessly going through life, which I think a lot of us do. So yeah, I just started to, that documentary got me into more books and just got me deeper and deeper. And that's kind of where that mentality comes from, of giving back and doing things, like that. It's like, I believe what you put out, obviously, whatever you put out there comes back to you. You know what I mean? It's a very universal thing. So it started with, trying to make money, trying to make a living. And then when, I incorporated that into my own company and started my own business, it kind of just flowered from that. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of more of what we do. We're yes, it's a roofing company. I didn't wake up one day, it was like, I want to be a roofer. It was just like I had an intention to do something, and it led me there. And now I see it as a vessel, as a tool to help other people. The roofs, it hails every year in Montana or North Dakota. You know what I mean? So there's always work, but we don't need much. It's just my son and I, so we give back heavily. You know what I mean? I think that's the joy in it for us. You know what I mean? It's not just what we're doing for ourselves, it's what we can do for the people around you, our communities, and I think it starts there. So.
You mentioned the idea of manifestation. There's another book that's really awesome that's on the same topic called Mind Magic. I don't know if you've read it, but
I haven't.
it's more of it's talks about the scientific basically basis for this idea of manifestation, really focusing on the subconscious part of the brain as opposed to
Yes.
thinking about the
Yeah.
universe necessarily like bringing things to you, but essentially programming your subconscious
Programming. Yeah.
like a heat-seeking missile could, like, yeah, go after your
Yeah,
goals.
I
So
gotta check that out because
yeah, it's a phenomenal. I
that's
just read it.
all I do is read.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I've been trying to build in a bit. I love to read, but sometimes life gets in the way. But I've been building in a habit
Yes.
of reading at the end of the day to just try and get more books and more ideas in my brain. But anyways, just as an aside, My Magic,
Yeah. I'll
definitely
check
check
it
it
out.
out. So tell us now too, how did you get into MMA? How did you get into falling in love with mixed martial arts?
Well, I don't know that I even planned to, because I used to train when I was younger, in my early 20s. I used to train really hard for like 2, 3 years. I mean, like really intense training. It was right when UFC was kind of booming, the original UFC. And so I really wanted to fight, and I just never did. And I, somewhere along the line, just dropped it. I just stopped doing it for some reason. And, along with a lot of other things, you know what I mean? And now that I have business, and I have the ability to do things, I find myself going back and doing things that I didn't do. This fight, you know, even getting into the fighting thing, actually, it was a hilarious situation with another roofer that I had beef with, and I was originally supposed to fight this guy. He ended up backing out, and then I ended up having my first MMA fight, and I loved it so much, mostly the training part of it. You know what I mean? Because like when I was training, and even now I train, it flows over into my business because my diet is impeccable. I'm training so hard, and I'm thinking in a certain way. I literally have a routine in the morning that's 4 hours. I wake up, I meditate. I read every day. That's what, like what you were saying, it's hard to kind of, I always found it hard. Like I'd say, I'll just read here and there and wherever I can. I just never did. So I forced myself to read in the morning. I forced myself to read at night. And when I have a fight coming up, I find that I'm less likely to put something down or to skip a practice, a session or anything. I'm like, nope, I have to do it, or I'm gonna go get my ass kicked. So it's
Right,
kind of
right.
funny. That's what it's turned into. I think, I think there's an aspect of me going and picking up things that I just gave up on. I race motocross too. I started learning how to surf. I just like to learn new things and do new things, and I tend to do the things that scare me. You know what I mean? That I'm afraid of. And I feel like that conquering that fear when you realize it's never as bad as you make it in your mind, and that helps me in my business decisions and everything. So this has become something way greater. You know what I mean? Because I think I had the business aspect there, but early on I was drinking, and I was enjoying it too much. I was eating whatever I want. I mean, I think there was a string of like 5 years where I ate out. Every meal is horrible, and now I'm like, now I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, oh, I might go out to eat, every, once a week or every 2 weeks at best, So it's completely changed my perspective on everything else. So I just want to keep doing something so that, I think that's when things kind of go backwards, or, you start to get old, is when you give up, you stop thinking, you stop looking forward to something, and right now I'm like literally getting younger, you know what I mean? I feel
Yes.
faster, stronger. I mean, I'm more alert. I do everything better. I respond better to people. Everything, my relationships, it's crazy, So yeah, that's where it's at for me. I'm not trying to become some great fighter. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna train like like anybody else. I train with all these guys that are that are pros, and so it's good to try to keep up with these guys that are half my age, and so there's still that fire there, and I'm obviously going to go in and do the best I can regardless. So.
We're at similar positions in our lives. I think you and I, you're 46, I'm 45, as I think we've mentioned before, and it's the same thing with me, man. The training has brought me, I feel like, backwards in time. You
Yes.
mentioned the eating out thing. Yeah, I've been real bad with that, but actually, I'll tell you a funny thing. I just deleted completely, like about 6 or 7 weeks ago, my DoorDash and my Postmates app. So I
Nice.
can't even order out anymore. So I have to make
Oh, it's
everything
crazy.
from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been incredible. It's helped my
Yeah.
fitness even more, and I'm feeling even better. So yeah, all around all these things, I
Huge.
echo all these sentiments. Like, yeah,
Yeah. And this fight too, you know, I don't know why I agreed to fight at 150. I'm 170 pounds. And so it's even more intense on my diet now. The things that I thought were okay to have to cheat, I'm like, wow, that I didn't realize. I'm more into the food and impact, because before, even when I was fighting before, I'd cheat here and there. I'd have this, that. Now it's like I got to lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks. I haven't weighed that 150 since probably 10th grade. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's cool. You know what I mean? Now it's forcing me to even dig deeper. You know what I mean? And I've lost 15 pounds already, and it's crazy, man. You know what I mean? I didn't think I had 15 pounds to lose, but it just keeps getting deeper, and I love just going down the rabbit hole, man. So.
So you obviously seem like a very successful, very disciplined adult. What can we expect when you get in there on December 13th in terms of the fight?
I think that's what you expect, is just that, you know what I mean? I'm very focused on technique and disciplining myself cardio wise, like pushing myself like really, intense. And I think that I know I have a tough fight ahead of me. I have somebody that's very, very seasoned, that's been in there many times. This is my first time with the gloves off, so it adds a whole different aspect of I don't know. But I enjoy that. You know what I mean? I'm really, it kind of drives me. That fear drives me, and I know the best thing that I can do in there is stay composed and stay focused and not panic. You know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing. Is I think that first couple of rounds. I'm the kind of guy that'll go the distance even if I'm getting my ass kicked. So I guess you know what I mean. I see it either way. Of course I don't want a long drawn out battle, but that's what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for the absolute worst case scenario, but I'm expecting the best.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. Harvey Singh, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Look forward to meeting you in person on December 13th, and best of luck with the weight cut and the fight.
Thank you, brother. I'm looking forward to seeing you out there.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Yep.
Yep.
See you,
Take
brother.
care.
Bye.
See you.